does it mean to be spiritual? Hi, my name is Susie Porter, and I'm a spiritual life coach. Today, I want to talk about the word spiritual and what it means, right? We hear it all the time. Some people say, I live in Los Angeles, but I think people might say this all over. Oh, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, right? And then they glow. Some people use it as an insult. Oh, she's into all that spiritual shit. And I remember when I was a Christian a long time ago, people used to say, she's so heavenly minded, she's no earthly good. So obviously, there are a lot of different ways that people define being spiritual. For me, I think of spirituality and of being spiritual as being a human being who's just looking for the deeper answers, the real truth. I do consider myself an intellectual, and I have a super busy brain that loves to think and overthink. But I absolutely agree with Einstein when he said that the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and that the rational mind is a faithful servant. Although what we've created in our society is a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift, right? What does it mean to be spiritual? In the truest sense of the word, we're all spiritual. We can't not be spiritual because we all have the breath of life. We all come from the same source energy. To be spiritual is kind of a silly way to say it. It's like saying a cat is being animal. Of course it is. It's an animal. It can't not be an animal. When people say they're spiritual, I think what they really are trying to say is that they pay attention to that aspect of themselves, right? We're all human, but we don't go around saying, I'm a human person, as if it's a special thing about us. Why do we make such a big deal about being spiritual? I mean, it's kind of funny, isn't it? Babies and children are great mystics. We're born with a natural sense of wonder and awe and innate curiosity. As children, our minds are completely open and we're free to accept and believe everything, which can be a great blessing or a curse. But I want to talk about what Dr. David Hawkins calls spiritual struggle or the anguish of the soul. One of my favorite spiritual books is called Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins. He's, as far as I'm concerned, his books are channeled from the divine. He's just too smart. And he writes about spiritual work in the chapter of spiritual struggle. He says, spiritual work, like other intensive pursuits, can be arduous. Sorry, that's the bad news, right? And frequently requires the development of specific tools for the task, including an extremely focused intent and unfailing concentration. The difficulty of inner work results from the great effort required to escape from the familiar gravity of lower attractor fields. Now, Dr. Hawkins is really scientific and mathematical. And if you like that kind of stuff, if you like numbers, you'll love Dr. Hawkins. Um, but when I read that, I was like, yeah, truth, right? Like, I've been doing the deep inner work my whole life. And today it's just so ever present. It's just everywhere where you see teachers and marketers and gurus and coaches who have like 3 easy steps to enlighten, 7 steps to peace of mind, 5 steps to perfect happiness. And I got to say, you know what? I'm not going to say those things don't work, but I am going to say that the reality of breaking free and becoming totally spiritually enlightened, I don't think it's usually that quick and easy. I mean, some people like Eckhart Tolle and Byron Katie who have this epiphany, or Paul in the Bible who was struck by lightning. It can happen, but it doesn't happen for most of us. Everyone is unique, and there are exceptions, but like I have seen some young people who just seem to be born with an open heart and an open mind that bends towards awareness. And then there are people who've had to work really hard, people like me who've had to work for their whole life to break free from childhood wounds or programming or negative beliefs. But the good news is that all it takes is willingness, just a tiny, teeny bit of willingness. The bad news is that even with that willingness, it might take effort and time, more time than you planned on. But that's okay. You got to live anyway, right? We have to do something with our days. What I've noticed for me is that healing happens in layers, almost like in phases. And while I've always wanted to be happy and free, that was always my goal. Achieving that requires awareness. And in order to become aware, we have to take 100% responsibility for our own healing. A beautiful song about this is called Your Healing is in Your Hands by India Ari. It's so beautiful. I highly recommend listening to it. Dr. Hawkins writes a lot about energy fields, and every thought that we think and every emotion that we feel creates a literal, actual energy field around our bodies. It's a physical phenomenon, and it attracts and detracts people, circumstances, and experiences. Even though we might be the most devout, serious spiritual seeker, we're still flesh and blood humans, right? And we get so sidetracked by our five senses, by our reality. When you couple our awareness of our sensory world with our survival brain that only and ever wants to keep us safe and comfortable and never wants us to change or grow ever, no, no, because why? You'll die if you change. And then you add your childhood wounds and programming. It's no wonder that it might take extreme effort and determination to break through and get to the other side. To be spiritually enlightened means that, I take a breath here. To be spiritually enlightened, to reach that place of pure consciousness, means that you feel unconditional love for everyone and everything. It means that you're no longer compelled by anger and fear and vengeance and jealousy and all those lower emotions that you want to just judge, and you just have to crucify the people who you really believe are your enemies. True spirituality is when you recognize and really feel within you your oneness and connection to all of life, everyone, every human being. When when a human being is truly spiritually enlightened, they've realized that separation is a lie. When you're truly spiritual, you don't feel guilty or afraid, and you don't even feel pain anymore. You've reached that place where you are one with all that is. You don't have to get hung up on the religious connotation of God, because it's loaded with so much pain and baggage. I get it. But if you think of it just from a purely scientific point of view, it's pure consciousness itself, right? To quote Dr. Hawkins, it's isness, beingness, I amness, infinite potential, infinite power, infinite energy, source of all existence. To be spiritual is just to align with that which we really are deep within us. But so much has gotten layered on since we from living in this human world, right? In this crazy human world. It's a lofty goal to be spiritual. Yeah, I gotta say, I can honestly say at this point in my life, it's the only goal that really excites me and interests me. If there is a God, and if that God is love, like actually, literally is love, what else could I want, right? Nothing really excites me except that. And if we are loved unconditionally, and if we were created, as Jesus says in the Course in Miracles, God's will for you is perfect happiness, then why aren't we perfectly happy? What gets in the way? Why do we create barriers to love? Well, we're afraid, right? But the answers to your personal, why aren't you perfectly happy question can only be found within you. There are a ton of inspired channels channeled books, there's great teachers, gurus, classes you can follow. Your work is to find what best works for you, to find the light that helps you see the beautiful truth about who you really are and why you're here. Are you spiritual? What do you think? I would love to hear. For today, take good care of your mind, of every thought that you think, and your heart, and every emotion that you feel, and your body. Take time today to breathe and to make your willingness just a little more willing, your openness a little more open. Create space in your life today for love and truth, and to break free from whatever is holding you back. God bless you. Take good care.